Hello everyone, how are you? I hope you're good. Welcome to this week's episode of my podcast. In today's episode, I guess we're gonna just jump straight in because I don't know how to preference of what I'm gonna say. But I do have to say that this episode might contain some topics such as depression, grief, and anxiety. And if you're triggered by any of those topics, I suggest you to not watch this episode. But also, I truly believe that to some of you who is struggling with sad things, I think this episode might bring some peace. Because my whole life, I've been struggling with a massive case of self-hatred and self-loathing, And finally, I think it's time for me to bring this up publicly. I don't know, I'm still not confident in my decision, but it's just what I've been thinking about especially for the past 8 months. And I feel like if I don't get it out of my brain, I'm not gonna stop thinking about it. So that's why I've decided to record this episode. And again, not only for my own peace of mind, but also to maybe bring comfort to some of you who's also struggle with the same things as I do. And today you're gonna hear my soliloquy, and I'm not kidding. I've literally wrote a monologue expressing all of my feelings, and it's actually an unusual activity for me because I don't express my feelings through writing stuff. It's just not what I usually do. I don't have any diaries. I've tried to start multiple of them, but it didn't stick in. So for me to express my thoughts via writing a monologue is kind of not impressive, but again, unusual for me. And I don't know how this episode will end, but it's all about the journey anyways, okay? So without further ado, let's start. By the way, I started writing this episode when I was 21. I'm 22 now. I've just turned 22 actually. Well, not just, a month ago, literally a month ago. Anyways, that's why it starts me writing about being 21. I'm not 21 anymore, I'm 22. But anyways, you'll figure this out. I'm so anxious. I don't know why I'm so happy actually, because this monologue is quite depressing. I guess it's just a coping mechanism. It's fine. 21, very exciting age, very exciting number. Although that number comes with a lot of not life-altering events. Let me explain. Them being expectations. I'm 21, yay, I'm officially an adult in every single country. I can literally do whatever I want, but can I? What do you mean I have to go get my phone and my tooth fixed? Also, I have work tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow, and the day after, and so on. Also, I have to pay $100 to someone so they could help me download a fucking app on my laptop. Also, buy a new laptop. Buy glasses that I haven't changed in 5 years. Great. I hate them. What the fuck is happening? I haven't seen my best friend in 2 months. And we live 2 hours away from each other. Does she hate me? Do I hate her? Of course not. But why does it feel different? Why does all of it feel so different? Maybe I'm an incompetent adult, but suddenly I feel responsible for every single thing that's happening. And I do not like this feeling. It creeps inside of me every single day, and there's no medicine I can take to get rid of it, of the illness called adulthood. I was kind of being dramatic here. Just let it slide. When I was a teenager, everyone kept saying that these years were the most chaotic and dramatic years of my life, and that it will get better. I'm 22, and it doesn't. I feel more lost now than when I was a teenager. When I was a teenager, I had a stronger sense of self than I do now. I knew what to do. I had a goal, a blurry goal, but still. I knew what I liked doing, whereas right now, I feel lost, and the only person who should know how to help me is me. But I'm lost and lonely, although solitude is good for you sometimes. I feel very anxious. I doubt everything. I don't trust my thoughts and my actions. I don't know what's good for me. I've never felt this lost and lonely. I don't expect anything from anyone. If every single person turned their back on me, I would understand. No one owes me anything. I truly appreciate if someone is nice to me, but I understand that it's not an obligation. They can act however they want. I don't have any energy to defend myself. I don't want to communicate. I don't feel like I should communicate. I have nothing to say. Or I do, but after some consideration, I decide to stay silent because my thoughts are not worth to be said out loud. Consequently, I feel very lonely and people do not really know me. What if they think I'm weak? But I'm not. I just don't have the energy to reciprocate. I don't know what to do and how to stop self-deprecation. I spend my time thinking about Emma Watson's interview where she said, "If it costs me any part of my peace, it's just too expensive. I'm going bankrupt. Nothing that I do feels peaceful. I consciously pay the price every time. It's a choice. I'm very intentional with my decision making. And if someday I have to apologize, saying, 'Sorry, I didn't know. Sorry, I haven't noticed. Sorry, I wasn't aware,' just know I'm lying. Because I'm aware of every possibility happening, of every turn that this situation might take, of every potential outcome. I like to think that I calculate any consequences for the sake of my well-being. So every decision is a choice, and anything that I'm not changing, I'm choosing. When I'm struck with a sudden opportunity, I'm also hit with many contradictions, an overwhelming amount of them. Somewhere along the way, almost without noticing, I realize how often I find myself unable to choose. On one hand, it's a privilege to even have options at all. On the other, it doesn't make anything easier. Ever since I was a child, I've seen both sides of the same coin. I noticed the beauty and the flaws in each opposing path. But instead of choosing one and moving forward, actually living it, seeing where it leads, I freeze somewhere in the middle, thinking, overthinking, drifting into the endless loops of what-ifs. In a way, it's a strength. I rarely make reckless decisions. I reflect, I wait, I consider. But there's the other side of it. Even after I've carefully measured every pro and con, there's no guarantee I won't regret the choice I make. That's a trap, isn't it? So what am I supposed to do? How do you ever truly decide when every path feels both right and wrong at the same time? And it's uncomfortable and not peaceful. So I can't take part in Emma's philosophy, otherwise I won't be doing anything. I understand that I should be full of energy to give and take. I'm too inexperienced. I'm young and ambitious. I can't say no to things. I need to take risks. So I'm sticking to it, to an apprehensive decision making, to see if I choose to take action this time. To my point on self-loathing, I will probably never forget that action. For years it felt like I've been living manacled with a steel chain to a ring on the wall without being able to walk free. Constantly belittling yourself feels paralyzing and leads to downward spirals. I'm living through one right now. I think in the moments when you feel like you don't have anything, in the moments of a complete crisis, in the moments when everything suddenly collapses, you should stay kind. You can't forget who you are. People around you can't forget you, but you can. To prevent that, try to remember. Personally, when I feel like I have nothing and no one, I like to think that I consist of memories. I like to dwell on them. I nurture and cherish every single memory. I love that girl. I loved her when she was 3 years old, 8 years old, 13 years old, 18 years old, and hopefully I will love her when she turns 23. Besides different versions of me, there are people who shape me but whom I will never see again. When I was younger, my grandma and I used to discuss silly things on the terrace in the summer house. It felt like she was always doing something, and the only time she was not occupied with things were the early mornings before my little brother woke up. I've forgotten a lot of things about her, but I remember that. I remember how she was sitting alone on the terrace, almost as if she was waiting for me to come and talk about millions of things. I remember how much I would wish for her to talk to me again when she was gone. Sometimes now, 5 years on, my mom sits alone in the kitchen during slow early mornings, like her mother, and I never miss a chance to have a conversation. From time to time, I imagine that I wake up and go to my grandma to chat about what's on my mind. It will never happen, of course, but if I try hard enough, I swear I can almost hear her voice issuing from the terrace. People like my grandma embodied my childhood. There's a popular saying about loved ones who have passed away. You stop being a child when the people who knew you in your youth pass away, leaving you as a living memory of that era. I feel that I cling to my past because it's the only thing that remains familiar. The past feels safe because I know I survived it. I cannot be certain about the present. I move through life expecting that any day could bring a new trauma. Nothing lasts forever. People are not eternal, especially the ones you love. The scariest day of my life was December 20th, 2025. That night I woke up to the sound of my mother having a seizure. For the first time, I became someone I can barely recognize now. Someone whose perspective I can no longer fully inhabit. When the person you love the most is unable to help themselves, you become their advocate. As we waited for the ambulance, I felt a shift in the balance between us. I became my mother's support system. From that day on, all of my energy was directed towards caring for her. Later that same day, she was diagnosed with meningioma. While she was recovering in the hospital after the surgery, I was forced to learn what it meant to be on my own, to live without relying on the support system I had always known. The moment I realized that my mother's well-being in the hands of the doctors rather than my own, I tried to find peace in what I could not control. Because in the end of the day, the only person you are truly responsible for is yourself. To my shock, I discovered that I could not provide a safe environment for my own mind. I tortured myself with relentless, debilitating thoughts. And that was when I realized that being an adult means more than financial independence, living alone, or being capable of caring for others. It also means learning how to make peace with life and everything life entails. More importantly, it means never abandoning the pursuit of that peace. As Mary Oliver once said, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life you can save. You cannot stop choosing yourself. You cannot abandon yourself. You are the only one you have. In my recent attempts to spend meaningful time with myself, I found myself slipping back into self-doubt. My limiting beliefs about who I am remain my deepest insecurity. It is difficult to admit that you do not like yourself. How can you expect anyone else to when you don't? My greatest fear is that one day I will surrender, and that will be the end. Yet I trust that things will get better. I trust that I can think my way through this period, just as I always have before. And in some small way, I find appreciation in the actions I took on, and the outcomes they resulted in, that I look back on with admiration. I look in the future and quietly say a prayer, wishing that I'll never lose an ability to carry me further. Guys, that's it. I hope you liked it. Oh my god, it feels so weird, like bearing my soul to people. Actually, before starting recording, I was fully thinking that I will cry during this episode, but I was fully able to detach myself from the text I was reading, and I guess it's because English is not my native language, because I think that if I read this text in Russian, I would definitely cry. That's the beauty of speaking a language that's your second language, because actually there is a theory behind it, if I'm not mistaken, that it's easier for non-native speakers to express their feelings in their second language. I guess that's a massive case in point, what I just did. But, so as I've said before, right now you know how I feel. And everything that I've said was deeply personal, because in general, I like to talk about my experience once I'm already done dealing with it. And right now, I'm currently going through this, and I've yet to conclude my endeavor, my journey. I could say that I'm grateful for my past version for bringing me here, for giving me what I have right now, but I genuinely do not believe this, and I think that I was weak in the past. I still am. I guess I just proved my point all over again, right? It's like, you cannot help yourself, but you cannot help but to hate yourself. And my mom always tells me that I'm my biggest enemy, and I definitely think she's right, because no one else hates me the way I hate myself. If someone said some mean things to me, I would probably not be surprised because I've already thought of them in my head previously. And there's nothing a hater could say to me that I've not previously thought about myself, probably. And it's like, and people always, when I talk to some people about it, some people meaning my mom, and also when I watch some self-help videos on YouTube, they suggest for you to talk about yourself as if you're your biggest, like, best friend. And I've never understood that because I cannot be objective when I think about myself. And also, one of the most important things that I want to share is that this way of thinking, it doesn't affect anyone but me, truly. I'm the biggest supporter of my friends, and I'm not jealous of them. I'm not jealous of their lives. I'm the biggest supporter of my mother, because some people say that this deliberate way of thinking about yourself actually might represent narcissistic traits of your personality and is a sign of your big ego. But I genuinely believe that I'm not a narcissist. I don't think I am. Actually, it's not even up my judgment. It's more about what other people think of me and what my friends think of me, because I think that is an example of them having more precise and objective thoughts about me rather than me just talking about myself. I guess I have nothing to say anymore because some of you have no idea what it's like to live with that thought process, because this way of thinking affects everything that I do. And my limited beliefs about myself might create life that I do not want for myself. And I have yet to learn how to get rid of those limited beliefs. Because for the sake of, like, I don't know, for the love of God, I cannot help myself. And some of you might suggest to bring a therapist into this conversation, and that might be helpful. But also, I like to think of, like, my monologue as a therapy, because I do feel better after writing something like this. And I'm also someone who analyzes their feelings and their thoughts, and I cannot possibly think of anything that a therapist would say that I previously have not thought about before, you know? But I guess it's better to trust a professional. I don't know. What do you think about this? What are your thoughts about therapy in general? Because I do not think I feel bad enough to hire a therapist. I do not think my case is that severe to ask a therapist for advice. Like, I'm still mentally stable, you know? I'm okay. I can function properly. And I hope it will not get to the point of me having to bring a therapist into my thought process, because actually it's also very vulnerable. And even though I'm speaking to you guys right now, I'm speaking to the camera, and I cannot think of myself talking to an actual human being and saying all of those things, because they might think I'm crazy. And I feel very uncomfortable of them having to engage with my thought process and, like, to actually advise something, and to actually to, like, them having to respond to my problem. Like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know it's not that serious, guys. It's not that serious. Like, I struggle, but, like, it could be worse. It could be worse. There are some people who are, and I'm not that. Like, I feel like, I don't know. Guys, I'm sorry. Someone knocked on my door. The camera angle slightly shifted. I deeply apologize for that. But yeah, anyways, what are your thoughts? I'd really like to know your opinion on that, because even though I understand some people also are dealing with anxiety on a daily basis, they are not really vocal about that, and they're not vocal about their feelings. Me too, actually. I do not talk about all of it with my friends. Like, my friends know that I am a very anxious person, but they do not know details about my way of thinking. So maybe if you feel comfortable again, you can share something. You can DM me on Instagram, on TikTok too. So please contact me if you want to discuss anything. I would be glad and hugely appreciative of your decision. Yeah. Thank you for this episode. I will keep you updated on my feelings and my thoughts, and I think that everything, nevertheless, is gonna be okay. And we will figure this out, and I will find a solution as always. Because, yep. I'm trying to end on a positive note. Okay. Thank you so much again. Thank you for listening to my depressive soliloquy that depicted everything I felt for the past 22 years of my life. I hope this episode helped some of you, maybe because you are relating to something that I've previously said before, and just know that you're not alone. And again, you can contact me whenever you like. I will respond and we will talk. And as I've previously said before, I'd like to bring peace to anyone who's willing to listen. Yeah, it's time for me to end this episode. Thank you for being here with me today. Thank you for listening to me yapping once again. See you soon. Thank you so much. Bye bye.